Hello, everyone. My name is Keenan. Welcome to the September 30th, 2021 DXdao community call. Today will be the first community call that falls into our new weekly programming. That's right. Community calls are going to be weekly now. If you haven't heard, we'll be replacing the recap calls weekly. This is a result of a culmination of decisions, but basically will let us have the finger closer to the pulse of the community weekly. And we'll still be able to give sporadic yet more focused recaps and better utilize our times on Thursdays. Also special about today, Swapper Farming Epoch 2 is set to launch in just under 30 minutes, 1500 UTC. Shortly after we follow the launch live, we'll also have special guests from the Adamant Finance team making an introduction about their Swapper integration, which will be fun. Without further ado, let's get started. First up, we have some focus updates from Swapper and DXgov. Let's start with Swapper. Let's recap the beta v6 changes and any plans we have going forward. Zet.
Hey guys, it's Zet here. So yeah, we did a release of Swapper beta v6 on GitHub. So basically, release doesn't mean it's deployed. We published this this Saturday, and we saw a community proposal coming up. Sometimes start of this week, I think. So yeah, it should be up in I don't know exactly the days. Let's see here if I see in 2 days and 9 hours. Swapper beta v6. So let's go through a little bit what's in Swapper beta v6. So one of the bigger updates we added to it, it's echo routing will be available on Arbitrum. That means basically if you trade swap on Arbitrum, you'll see the choice in between using Swapper liquidity or SushiSwap liquidity. So we'll also always check the best price in between these two liquidity and point to the one with the best price. So that will be live on beta v6. I'm excited to add more markets. We will add more markets as soon as we see the liquidity coming up and if we trust the source. So Sushi is first up there, and yeah, we'll be adding more. Another update we did is just making some of the farming experience a little bit better on mobile. We had some issues. Those are fixed. And yeah, it's mostly like fixes and smaller additions. It's nothing major. We added Usdt as a common based on Arbitrum, so Usdt as a default token now is in the token list. It wasn't in the token list before. Added icons to most of the tokens that we have. They were missing. Yeah, it's basically I can go on, but there's a lot of fixes. Maybe I could put the changelog in the chat if people are actually interested in seeing this. Other than that, we are already moving forward, preparing beta v7, adding more stuff. We're also working on the Swapper bridge. We are integrating the Arbitrum bridge into Swapper bridge as the first bridge to release. I think we'll have an MVP really soon. So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Zet. All good on your chat here?
Yeah, so I dropped the link in the chat where you can see the details.
Excellent. Thank you. And I actually have one question here for you. Is there a date so far for beta v7 and what would be included in it?
Oh, exactly what's included in it, I can't say. We have a plan to include stuff in it, but I can't guarantee they will be in it. I would say next week. We try to do shorter cycles, and we try to include as many fixes and improvements before we launch Swapper Beta V1, which is Swapper V1. So basically going out of beta as soon as possible, going on the full version, basically pointing governance to snapshot that page where Swapper holders can start voting on stuff as the first step to governance until we have our guild. But yeah, we'll try to do shorter cycles. I'm thinking we'll do maximum 10 beta versions before we're going to Swapper V1, basically going out of beta. So yeah, let's say one version each week or each 1.5 week. This is something I'm trying to push. We have a much bigger team now than we had, I would say, like a month ago. So we can push much more stuff. So we're pushing as much as we can. Next big release would be probably when we release the bridge into the DApp.
Is there an ETA on that right now, or just
the bridge?
Yes.
We're looking at the MVP. We already have a working internal version where we looking at the just looked at the demo today. It looks good. We still have stuff to fix on it. I'm not comfortable saying beta V7. We need to test it out. There are probably a lot of bugs. So maybe Swapper beta V8 will the bridge be released on. So maybe 2 to 4 weeks.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Zet. Moving on to the other side of our targeted product updates today with DXvote/DXgov. I know we are missing a couple members from that squad, but I think John will try to fill in the cracks here with a little update, if that's good with you.
Yeah, I will cover. The leads are traveling today, so can't join, but I'll do my best. In line with what Zet was describing with Swapper, we now have a bigger group working on governance. We have about 5 devs working on it, just like there's a bigger group now working on Swapper. I think this is a result. I've talked about this before, but the sentiment was that we were spread a bit thin across the different product efforts with having Aqua, Omen, Swapper, Carrot, and governance. So the focus is now on a couple of things because that's what we have the capacity for, but the plan is to try to generate some more momentum and increase dev capacity. And in my view, the biggest friction we're facing on recruiting and growing the developer team is just momentum, right? Like excitement about DXdao, getting people excited about joining. We have a great group already. I'm not at all worried about where we're at. I think we're in a great spot, but we could be doing a lot more. So if we can generate more momentum, I'm hopeful that will help us with recruitment, which will in turn allow us to have bigger teams on other efforts that we're focused on as well. So in terms of what's going on with dev, obviously DXvote is a main focus here. Arbitrum is the first place where it's in production, and the UI is a bit rough around the edges. I like how Ross put it. He said it's sort of a power user mode right now, right? Like it has all this raw capability and power when you're using it, but it's very difficult for the non-technical user. Like right now, you're having to add calls and construct them and format things in like way format and Unix timestamps and stuff. So there's a big focus right now on polishing that and smoothing that user experience out. And that's going to be really powerful because, then any voter will be able to do things like understand what's going on with new farming campaign launches or things, even simple things just like payments and contributor proposals, but other more complicated things. And another thing we're looking at, obviously, like the buyback is an important initiative that we have going on and obviously still a priority, but it has been relying upon Gnosis Protocol V1, which Gnosis discontinued support and operation of the solvers for a couple of months ago, and we've been relying upon our own community to run a solver and keep that going on Xdai. But that's not the best position to be in, and I think we're looking at using more generic relayers to support making those orders and more, right? Like other treasury management possibilities through other platforms, like including Swapper, other dexes, potentially aggregators, although it can be tricky. Something like 1inch does a lot on the front end, making it difficult for a DAO to kind of do it, interact with it through smart contracts. But there's a lot of possibility there. We actually had a pretty good conversation, I'd say, in Discord yesterday with some of the community members, just discussing treasury management and how, obviously the treasury is in a great spot and has done quite well over the past year, just with the appreciation of Ether. But in some ways, like the utilization has been very low, right? Like DXdao has not been doing yield farming and some other stuff that could potentially be leveraging the treasury even better. Obviously, the caveat there is that it probably should be a conservative approach and diversified and not going after anything crazy. But I think another opportunity for Dev Squad is to, the Gov Dev Squad is to basically support Dave in his efforts with treasury management and give him like a bigger tool set. And also, I think there's opportunities to work with other projects and other DAOs to be able to do things together and in collaboration, both with treasury management and with use of the DXdao products. Like I think another great example that we're going to pursue is like teaming up with other DAOs to provide incentives through Swapper farming campaigns. Right now, Swapper supports dual rewards, but in order to enable this to be done trustlessly on chain, we need to develop a relayer which allows two different parties to send the that will handle taking the pricing and matching the right amount and then creating the campaign itself. So I think those are the kinds of things that we're starting to work on with GovDev. The focus right now is on DXvote, but yeah, I would look forward to more on relayers as well. And then the final piece is, and this is overlap with Swapper and the other products, which is guilds. And so there's been some work done on that recently as well, which is building on work that had been done earlier in the year by Gusto. I think one key change, this is a little bit technical, but earlier versions of the guild contracts weren't supporting negative votes, and we had the realization that that's actually pretty important to have both negative and positive votes. Otherwise, you're going to have to set a really high quorum, and that's just not very sustainable, right? And it's not like operationally that good. So so work being done there in conjunction with the Swapper squad in preparation of launching the Swapper Guild, which will allow Swapper token holders to manage things like the protocol fee, deployment of the DApp, token lists, and more, like liquidity provision of Swapper for incentive programs, etc. So yeah, a lot going on there. And again, like the focus is currently Swapper GovDev. That does not mean that we've forgotten about Omen or Aqua. It's just that right now the focus is on a couple of things so that we can help build momentum. And Omen's still alive and well, still running, still has markets. Aqua, we're lining up for audits, and the plan is to return to those as well and continue development there as well. So I think that's it. I probably covered a bit more than you wanted me to, Keenan, but that's your fault for putting me up on stage.
No, it's much appreciated. I actually have one more thing for you, which you partially addressed, but just for programming question left with me here. When will DXvote be fully utilized by DXdao?
So I'll interpret fully utilized as it being the only platform that we're using, and we'll be using it across all of the chains that DXdao has bases on, and most importantly, mainnet, where the primary base and the main treasury is. So I view it currently in sort of a beta testing stage, right? And it is actually possible to use the DXvote front end with the existing smart contracts on mainnet. And you can even do this today. I think it doesn't have the full suite of capabilities built into the UI, but it's possible to use the front end with the existing smart contracts. It can be a little bit confusing, but DXvote is like a whole new UI that replaces Alchemy, but there's also some things being done a little bit differently on the smart contracts as well, like new schemes, slight tweaks to how the voting stuff works. So to make like a full migration on mainnet, we're talking about using the DXvote UI instead of Alchemy and updating some of the schemes so that we can do things like use DXd as a staking token, that we can add some different parameters that we find desirable on the governance. And even though that can be done without moving funds out of the existing avatar, any kind of change on mainnet to like the core governance is a super serious move, and we're not going to do that lightly, right? So I can't give an estimate now on when that will be complete, but it's going to entail, extensive testing. It's going to entail maybe more audits, and we're also going to want to feel like everything is very stable in production where we're using DXvote on other chains like Arbitrum and XDAI. So, I mean, to put it briefly, we're basically in beta testing right now. And once things are stable, we'll take the next steps and move ahead with a full rollout. And I think the other piece there too is governance 2.0, right? Like, which still needs to be developed. So like, if another way to look at it would be say like, okay, we could replace Alchemy and add DXd staking and a couple other things. But if we're talking about governance 2.0, that also still needs to be developed.
Excellent. Thank you very much, John. Much appreciated filling in here. Let's move on to Swapper Epoch 2 of farming. As you may or may not know, the second epoch of farming is set to launch at 1500 UTC. This is only 10 minutes away from right now. We're going to be watching it live, kind of following along, discussing and providing context or support for anyone that's here that may be asking any questions. But until then, let's chat the big changes. We followed a subset of on-chain data and community feedback surrounding the Epoch 1 launch. Most interestingly and excitingly, of course, was that Swapper surpassed nearly 25 million in trading volume within the first epoch and fluctuated around 65 to 55 million in TVL despite unstable market conditions. Perhaps this goes without saying, but we're incredibly grateful for the community response and utilization of Swapper so far, including people building on and integrating with Swapper, which kind of moves on to the changes here. We've allocated a small subset of tokens within the second epoch as a kind of highlight to projects that are building on or with Swapper. So far, we're not directly partnering or working with these projects in any way, but they are building directly on Swapper. We'll highlight a few of them here. We have Arby's with IS for the Arby's. This is a yield aggregation project that was the first project to build on Swapper on Arbitrum. They can be found at arbys.finance. We also have Arby with a Y. This is Adamant. We actually have Adamant coming on to speak after the launch of farming in just under 10 minutes here. They're also a yield aggregator and auto compounder. We also have, let's see here, Arby. We had HMD. We're in discussion with them. I don't believe that's this epoch, but we are still chatting with them. Let's see here, bringing up the change log. We also have IMX, which is Impermax Finance. They've launched on Arbitrum as well, and they're building with Swapper, integrating our pools as well. So very small starting allocations for these projects that are interested in us. And they're kind of a way to show that we support building on Swapper and obviously giving a yield to those native tokens directly within Swapper. As for the larger changes, obviously DAI is now bridgeable to Arbitrum. Originally, we had only a USDC ETH pool, and we want to include DAI as well. So we moved some allocation around and pushed 10% of Epoch 2 to DAI ETH. And this has both USDC and DAI pools. Currently, USDC is larger, and I believe we're looking for parity on those pools in the coming epoch. So expect them to kind of even out in rewards. We also moved down the percentage of some of our original ecosystem pairs due to their volume and TVL performance, namely Link, Curve, Maker, and GRT. They were moved down very slightly and also made room for the DAI allocation. This is also done with USDC, USDT. This was actually obviously said in the form and on the community calls that there would be an initial allocation of stables that would be ramped down over time. It was originally 7.5%. Today is 4%. And I do expect that to continue to move down linearly until the rewards no longer are on Swapper. This is obviously up for community discussion, but that is the expectation currently. There is also another thing to talk about that maybe I'm not completely up to date on. There was an allocation in the form given to IB BTC and Badger ETH pools. I believe there is a happenstance with that. I'm openly inviting Sky to the stage here if you're around and have something you might want to share about it now. I don't believe I have the correct context currently.
Oh, we're waiting for Sky too. I'll just point out it's very exciting to see other projects integrating the auto compounders, other projects providing incentives. But it's important to be clear that even though we're helping other projects, supportive, even adding incentives, that it's not an endorsement of like the security of these systems, right? Like DXdao has not, or any of the contributors, we haven't looked at audits or done that kind of due diligence. So it's very important to like have that understanding and do your own research and proceed with caution on all of this stuff. Obviously, every new system comes with its own smart contract risk and other risks. So just a friendly warning to be careful there. If Sky is not up, I could maybe touch a little bit on.
It looks like Sky, you'll have to manually accept it, I believe. In the bottom
at the
middle.
top of the screen for me. Yeah, it always confused me.
There we go.
Gotcha. Sweet. Thanks. It's weird how the accept is that way at the top of the screen versus everything else in Discord is at the bottom. Yeah. So Badger is another project like some of these other projects that reached out and saw what was happening with Swapper on Arbitrum. Badger in general has exciting plans for Arbitrum, and they have a few different initiatives around their vaults and tokens. And so we have been speaking with them about doing a collaboration around some of their vaults. And so there's a bunch of technical integrations and security checks that need to happen. And so though the big launch of IBBTC and Badger ETH vaults will likely happen next week, they will start to have options within their ecosystem starting probably tomorrow on some of the existing pools in Swapper, such as WBTC ETH. And so keep an eye out for those opportunities. We'll likely have probably them join next week as the guarded vaults launch. But for now, yes, it's another big name project in the space that's paying attention to Swapper on Arbitrum and excited to do some collaboration with them in addition to these other projects that Keenan named.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Sky, for popping up here. I do have a couple questions left with me. General, probably will be able to tackle them on my own here. Where can I share my opinions on the farming changes? Obviously, a handful of different avenues here. Excuse me. We do chat quite regularly in the Discord about the changes, as well as, and I would say the most pertinent and cemented way to discuss them would be on the forum. Obviously, for Epoch 1, after what would believe was 3 or 4 days, we had a forum post up on DAO Talk, and that is probably the best place to share opinions and feedback on the epochs. Obviously, a great place to have discussion. I'm not sure if anyone has any other places I may be not thinking about, but I'm under the impression Discord and DAO Talk are going to be the best places to discuss the changes. Cool. And one more question again for me. Why was the USDC USDT pool reduced? I think I did somewhat address this, so maybe it'd be a bit more clear. We had originally integrated USDC USDT in the absence of UniV3 and Curve at the start. Obviously, we went through the governance process, and these protocols are coming online and getting liquidity. So there was always the idea of having this as an initial pool in lieu of some of the tokens that we weren't able to bridge at the start, and slowly reduce those allocations over the next couple of epochs, depending on their performance. Obviously, following the performance, they've resulted in some considerable TVL, which is great, but very, very minute volume numbers, obviously, as a result of the other protocols coming online. So we reduced this number quite considerably for this epoch, and I expect it to do so for the next one as well. Yeah, excellent. So we have 2 minutes until the launch of Epoch 2 farming. Just getting it up on my end. Quick open question to everyone else on the stage. Are you able to access eth.link right now? I'm getting a white page.
Works for me.
Interesting.
Works for me too.
Cool. Thanks, guys. If you ever have any problems, obviously, with the .link service, you're always able to connect your MetaMask wallet to Ethereum mainnet and connect to swapper.eth/. That'll reroute directly through MetaMask ENS service, which is technically the right way to access Swapper. That being said, I'm in now. We can see the campaigns here. For anyone that is unfamiliar, we've had to set these campaigns up through our DIY farming interface in the absence of a longevity style farming interface. So you will need to unstake off of the campaigns you're currently farming on and stake on the new ones, which we are obviously here to help if anyone has any questions or needs assistance with. Also, one more thing, just taking a look here. Does look like the farm just started a couple of seconds ago here. So you'll want to migrate any existing liquidity. When you click on the pair tab, you'll be able to select expired 30 days, and that's where you'll find your rewards and LP tokens. Just taking a look around, everything looks good on my end. Yeah, happy to answer any questions or any support that might be needed. Just give us a shout here.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, you will have to unstake from the last campaign and then restake and then stake again on the new one. And if you're providing liquidity for the first time, you have to provide the liquidity, and then there's the additional step of actually staking on the farming campaign itself, right? So there's several steps there. For folks that are new, I think some people maybe stopped halfway and didn't actually stake, but just wanted to remind there.
Yeah, thank you, John. And already seeing a decent amount of TVL moving over, so happy to see that people are following along and active with Swapper and how it works here.
Yeah, you mentioned the longevity. That's an interesting way to put it. Longevity farming. We do have some code written up to support farms campaigns that allow the adding of rewards, which would basically allow DXdao to just top off existing campaigns instead of having to create new ones. Today, we're kind of stuck with having a set amount of rewards only for a specific campaign, which means we have to keep creating new campaigns. But once that's audited, it can be deployed, and then so nothing coming up, and unfortunately we can't get that done within like a couple weeks, but hopefully in the next couple months we'll have that ready to go.
Excellent, thank you. I guess one final thing I might not have mentioned just before the launch here, the IMX ETH pair was actually taken from a small portion of the unallocated percent of Epoch 1. See, Pink Hog is moving, unfortunately, and will not be attending today. Excellent. I think that's kind of the main focus, it looks like there's a flawless kind of transition, just paying attention to DXstats, seeing how everything's moving here. Again, obviously, any questions, feel free to shoot, but hopefully done a good job explaining here. Wheat die pair is only showing TVL value for 1/2 of the pair. Small error, gets the values only reading wheat and not die. Let me take a look here. Die. Interesting. Maybe John, you might be familiar with what is going on.
I'm not familiar with this. I remember seeing something like this in DXstats, but I'll take a look here.
Interesting. I am seeing the die inside of DXstats, so it exists for sure. But also in DXstats, it says $0 liquidity, which is kind of odd.
Are we looking at DXstats here, or is this? I'm assuming this is DXstats, right?
I'm seeing $0 liquidity in DXstats, despite the pair having liquidity, and I believe he's referring to the Swapper UI.
Oh, the Swapper UI, okay.
Let me take a look.
Yeah, let's see. I only see like 2,700 on the Swapper UI.
2,700 in the Swapper UI seems to be accurate. It just doesn't seem to be showing in DXstats, I believe.
No, but if you look at DXstats, you might just be lagging a little bit behind. But yeah, 2,700 is the amount of die. So the Swapper UI is, there's a little.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I don't know if this is a bug that is going to be persistent, or if it just maybe the graph needs to log some more data before it is calculating this correct. But we'll take a note of this, create the issue.
Yeah. Excellent. Perfect. So we do have the Adamant folk hopping in just under 5 minutes here to give a quick chat. But I think we kind of have discussed most of the Swapper changes here. Obviously, again, super excited and happy to see this go through flawlessly and without issue. Any comments from you guys here before we move on? Maybe Zet.
Hello?
You hear you now.
Yeah, sorry. So what did you ask? I just heard my name.
Yeah, just finishing the topic of Swapper farming before we have the Adamant folk come in, wondering if you had any final kind of words here.
I'm excited for the upcoming epochs. I'm actually farming, and I moved my stuff, and everything works really great. It will be interesting how these new allocations work, if they work better. And obviously, I'm always looking on the competition and how it goes for them, and yeah, it's a battle against the beasts. They're really big, some of these guys, and I think we could win long term. And this is something we need to think of. This is not just incentivizing a swapper because it's a reward. It's actually distributing the voting rights and the ownership of swapper. So we want the ownership to be in the right hands. If we get people coming in here and farming and dumping, so be it. I think we calculated that this would happen in the first epochs. Hopefully, people will understand why Swapper exists as a token and as a product, and comparing us to other products, other AMMs out there, we are very, very, I would say, undervalued when it comes to just the overall market cap and overall what we actually are doing. And it's not just a copy of another AMM. We're actually building our own stuff, and we're doing it 100% decentralized. So yeah, hopefully these new epochs will be in the right hands of people, and we gain a nice community.
Just to echo Zet and maybe toot his horn a little bit, I think one of our strengths is a really great designer in Zet and good UX and good UI. And I think in general, the focus in crypto has been on the protocol level, and people sort of underestimate the importance of the UX and the UI. And I sort of feel like over the next couple of years, we'll see a convergence on the protocol level as to what's getting used and what's available, and what will make some exchanges more successful, I think, will be what kind of user experience they can deliver. And I think that's a strength for DXdao, and it will be a focus. And as Zed said, we have more developers now working on swappers, so looking forward to seeing that UI improve at an even faster rate now.
Excellent. Thank you guys very much. Just going to give a couple minutes for the folks at Adamant to roll in here. Let's see here. Should have sent you an invite, Pedro. I believe we also have one more coming. Hey, welcome. Just taking a look. I believe we have one more on the way.
There we go.
Hey, we hear you now.
Yeah, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. I think, like I mentioned, I think we're waiting for one more, correct?
Yeah, Coach, I believe would be popping in. I haven't been in touch with him today, so not sure exactly. Let me ping him, but all good.
Yeah, sure thing. I'll keep an eye out on the requests here. Yeah, but awesome. Maybe a good opportunity to share a bit about Adamant and kind of your swapper integration and plans for that.
Yeah, so Adamant is an auto compounding platform. So we take the rewards from your farms, from the DEX, right, and automatically claim them for you, split them in half, and redeposit and compound. So you really take advantage of the magic of auto compounding math and compound interest, which is really powerful over the longer term. And there is a fee that's taken from each compound, but that fee is 100% redistributed to all the people who hold and or not just hold, but stake and lock. Stake or lock, or both, the actual Adamant token. So it's Arby, ARBY on Arbitrum. We originally launched on Polygon. It's a different token there. It's ADDY. So two completely separate tokens. They don't interact. But yeah, just really getting up and rolling on Arbitrum. I think around 12 million TVL at this stage, but just launched about a week ago, maybe 2 weeks ago or so. So yeah, the fees pay for the Arby token to be minted, and it's given back to you through that APR in the vault, and then that fee sharing gets distributed back as ETH across everybody that's either got their Arby token vesting from their farming, or they've locked or staked it. So it's really
I have one
a great
question
system
here left by the community for you. Do you plan on following the entire first year of swapper emissions on Adamant?
I'm sorry, following the entire first year emissions. So excuse me.
Yeah, so Swapper has a 1-year liquidity mining campaign. That's what the epochs that we're following right now. I think they're asking if you plan on following the entirety of the campaign over the course of the coming year, or if you plan on just following for a shorter amount of time.
Oh no, we plan on running through as long as you guys are distributing rewards. As long as Swapper is distributing rewards, we will continue to have vaults that compound them for users. So the entire year for sure. Unless,
Excellent.
I don't know, something crazy happens. But yeah, barring that.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Obviously, it goes without saying, but Swapper is a DIY farming interface. So Swapper rewards could pop up in any way, shape, or form, not just in Swapper token, but as deployed by the community. I guess a question that I have is, do you have a kind of, I guess, guideline for what farms you would be interested in integrating, like community created farms, or just official Swapper farms right now?
Really, I mean, as long as there's no strange vesting schedule, it doesn't interfere with our algorithm or let's say script to the compound and doesn't cause problems. And we really don't have a preference. Obviously, we want to have larger TVL, the better. Everybody does, right? So that it's worth it. Right, and we're talking like gas on Arbitrum is lower than mainnet, yes, but it can still be significant, especially with a vault. So it takes the gas off the user side, but we want the value in there to be worth the cost of gas. So, you know, more than a few $1,000, let's say.
Awesome. Excellent. Thank you very much. Yeah, wondering if there's any questions here from the audience or anyone on stage here, leaving an open door.
Don't be shy.
Excellent.
One other thing, I don't know if we mentioned it, and I'm not sure if Coach has discussed this with you. I'm trying to look back through our chat. We have this program called the Furnace. It's not live yet on Arbitrum, but it will be, where we have partner projects provide tokens into the Furnace, and we have people can what we call smelt or burn their Addy or Arby tokens, and that will earn the partner token. So that's something that you know, if things go well, we'll probably look to do down the road with Swapper, is earning additional Swapper tokens through that Furnace by burning some of the Arby tokens. So those are just more integrations that we like to do with partners as well.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for sharing. We do have one more question here. Is favorite Arby's sandwich? Not sure.
Who actually eats Arby's, by the way? I don't understand how that place is still open.
That's what I was saying.
It's got to be a front for something else. I don't know. I guess the classic roast beef, right? But man, I can't remember the last time I had an Arby's sandwich. But we were going to keep the token name Addy across both, and then we have like special channel for people that have locked their Addy in our Discord, and it's kind of a little bit more tighter knit community on that part. And just some of the guys were just chatting about it and saying, oh, you know, it's confusing if it's Addy, if it's not the same token on two different networks. And, you know, somebody just said, oh, like Arby, we have the meats, you know, and our main dev is named Eep. So with Arby, we have the Eeps. And it's kind of silly, but but it was funny at the moment. And then we didn't realize that there's actually an Arby's token on Arbitrum, like that literally just pretty much straight up copied the logo of the actual restaurant. So we weren't quite going for that, but yeah, still fun.
Another real quick fun story is at MCon in Denver. Someone ordered a bag through like Postmates of probably 100 different from Arby's that like just showed up to a house where there were a lot of people, and unfortunately only maybe like 10% of the sandwiches got eaten. So yeah, not many people are a big fan of eating Arby's, I don't think.
No surprise. No surprise. It's got to be a front for something else, I swear.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much for your time. Keeping an eye open for any final questions here. But otherwise, as of Swapper Epoch 2, there is an Arby against MIM Magic Internet Money pair on Swapper that's incentivized with a small amount of Swapper. to kind of kick our relationship off. So everyone here can look forward to that and/or farm it now if you have any Arby against MIM. And yeah, any final words from your end, Pedro?
Well, no, just really appreciate you giving the chance to speak here. I'm trying to learn a little bit more about the community myself. We're started to dig around the Arbitrum system and found Swapper, and you guys are doing a great job. So just really cool that we can have a partnership and do some of this stuff. And you guys definitely welcome to join our Discord, ask questions. Our mods are friendly. Usually, I'm one of them. So. If there's usually a lot of questions with like the tokenomics and stuff. It's a little involved. We've done a lot of things for the tokenomics, but ultimately it's pretty straightforward and I think a really good project. And that's why I spend my time working on the Adamant side. But really loving what I'm seeing with Swapper and the DXdao here. So thanks again.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Pedro. We'll see you around and be chatting for sure.
Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
Take care.
Ciao.
Excellent, guys. Big thank you, obviously, to the Adamant folks. Let's move on here to our final topic, being the Dxd Buyback. We currently have the round 3 proposals entering the queue on Alchemy, and we also have some new volume numbers. Would like to invite Chris Powers up to the stage. Oops. I think I think I tried to invite you as you joined, and it sent you back. Chris. You might have to accept it again.
The first contributor to be kicked off stage.
Let's see. There we go.
Well, it feels great to be up here, guys. There's like nothing like being in the purgatory in between the audience and the stage. Just kind of want to provide a quick update on a couple things with the buyback. So to start off with, last Saturday was a proposal passed on mainnet to extend the DXD buyback program for another $1 million. So just to take a step back, the DXD buyback program has been in place since the middle of May, and since then, DXdao has acquired 5,280 DXD. With 765 ETH. So that's an average DXD ETH price of 0.145. And the total purchase amount is at $2 million, but the current value of that DXD repurchase is about 2.7 million. So this most recent buyback extension proposal was to extend it add another $1 million. And as I said, that passed last Saturday. Unfortunately, we had some proposals lined up to start right after that passed, but they failed to execute because a couple of the parameters were wrong. When we were doing the buybacks, we've been using the Gnosis protocol relayer, and that does a certain number of checks when it's getting the price of the DXD ETH pair in order to place the order. And one of the checks is the minimum reserve on the DXD ETH pool on Swapper. And so the minimum reserve was actually too high on that first proposal, so that proposal didn't go through. But we resubmitted proposals starting Sunday, and so now there's 4 proposals lined up in the queue to continue that there. We are working through some issues with Gnosis Protocol v1 on XDAI, as John mentioned. It's a system that has worked well for us. There's been a lot of value that has kind of passed through that. But we, because there's not as much support for that protocol from other parties, it's a little challenge for us. So we're going to be needing to fix that in the short term, and then also make sure we have a better solution in the long term. And then just in terms of volume numbers, I'm going to share a picture that or a screenshot. How do I get back into the mothership text? This should be it. Yeah. Another chart here. This is the 7-day trailing average for DXD volume over the last, I think, 3.5 months. It's really since the buyback came in. So you can see a couple different humps there where we see increased volume, and it's a very colorful chart because DXD volume has actually traveled a lot around on different areas. Of course, you can see kind of the transition to swapper in there. We have seen a little bit of a decrease in DXD volume over the last week, but you could see there was a big spike in the week before there. And then these are just some numbers on where we're at right now. So the DXD, the average daily volume on chain is 113,900, and then you can see the weekly amounts the last couple of weeks there. And yeah, I think that's it. If there are questions or comments.
Maybe just you mentioned the daily average, but maybe just for anyone that might be listening only, just the weekly numbers could be nice.
Yeah, sure. So the last so this past week we had this is just on-chain volume. So we calculate on-chain volume and we assume it's 80%. So the last week we had $600,000 in DXD volume. The week before, 1.6 million. The week before that, 400,000, and the week before that, 1.9 million. So you can see there's kind of some fluctuations, typically from some bigger buys, as DXD liquidity is not constant and consistent with sometimes the big buys kind of throw off the volume numbers. And just as Connor is chatting in there, there's an interesting discussion. I've been meaning to respond in the forum on some of the buyback stuff, which I think kind of hints at maybe the bigger question on how we structure this long term, because this is a very ad hoc manual process, which has worked for DXdao now. But if we want to be able to scale this, we need to figure out how these things are automated, both from what are the inputs, what defines when DXD can be repurchased, and then the actual mechanics to do that. But I do think it's important to kind of step back and realize that this is a pretty incredible thing that a DAO is doing by using a trustless way of purchasing DXD and using some cool tools that we've built. But we just need to keep building cool ones and refine them.
Excellent. Open to any questions here on the buyback. I will start with one that was left with me. Will the next round include proposals 7 days a week?
It's just hard to do it kind of everything. These things take time. I think we have people working on this pretty consistently, and sometimes there's problems with the proposals. So I think people the kind of contributors for DXdao don't have the most regular schedule, but I think most people kind of work during the week. I think the pace that we're going at the buyback program in general has been pretty good. And if you look at kind of where we were at the end of the first extension, we actually got to this second one very quickly. And so I think the pace that we did this last million, which was about in 6 weeks, right? So about six and a half weeks, we purchased $1 million worth of DXD. I think that's about the pace we should be going forward.
Excellent. That was the main one left with me. Door open to any final questions or comments here. Assuming you've covered all your bases, Chris.
I think so. I love the covering all the bases. Let's get the baseball analogies up.
Excellent. Well, thank you very much. Just at the top of the hour here, we do obviously have some room for open questions as usual. I do not have any left with me today, so I'll just leave the door open here for anything that may pop up in the chat, but expecting that we'll be ending the call here in just a moment. Keeping an eye for anyone that may or may not be typing. Just some market chatter, you guys. There's the market chatter channel, you know. I'm just messing around.
The market? We need the market chatter community call. Maybe that's a DGen community call.
DGen community call. I like that. The weekender call. Cool, guys. Well, no questions here. We can end just a couple minutes early. Thank you all for attending. As I mentioned at the beginning of the call here, the community call is officially, as of this week, a weekly endeavor. You can expect community calls to be weekly at 1500 UTC on Thursdays. We still have to figure out exactly what's going on with the swapper epochs. Obviously, they start at exactly 1500 UTC. So we may have bi-weekly calls at 1430, or we might have to move the swapper epochs back 30 minutes. Whatever that solution may be, we'll communicate it in our channels. Thank you, everyone, for joining, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.
Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.